finish our deep dive series in the 206 with PWHL Seattle, and we have a special guest.
This is the Women's Hockey Report presented by Locked On NHL. Your weekly look at the world of women's hockey. From the PWHL to the international stage, it's the Women's Hockey Report on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, women's hockey fans. So indeed, our conversation with Ava Wood did go a little bit longer than we usually like to go. So we figured we'd break this up into two parts. This is still your PWHL Seattle recap, but more towards the end of the episode where we're talking about things like the para women's worlds where USA won gold. We talk a little bit also about the new assistant coach for the Ottawa Charge and another retirement. So we thank Ava so much for joining us. We're going to have her back. We already talked about some ways that we can continue to collaborate, but I hope you enjoy part 2 of our conversation with Ava Wood, also known as @365_hockey girl. We talked about this on the show, Rachel, but Brownie came out with a film and starring in it. So
love that.
I love that. We're gonna have to find a way to get Brownie and CJ on the show.
Yeah, I feel like because CJ is like so popular, like on the internet, they're almost underrated in terms of their actual like hockey skill. Like just their trajectory from last season to get that start in the Pride Night game and then come in when your team needs you most in a literal must-win playoff game. Like
huge.
Come on.
100%. I'm glad that you mentioned that because, again, people who followed her while CJ was playing for the Buffalo Beauts shouldn't be surprised that CJ was Buffalo during those years. Like,
absolutely clutch.
I mean, Buffalo won more games than they should have because of how CJ played. 100%. And wasn't always the go-to option there, but worked into that spot. Outdoor games, like iconic, just instant classic games for Buffalo. Then you think about Toronto. The Toronto Six was the last team in the PHF to win a championship before the PWHL came to be. And I remember talking to Geraldine Heaney, who is the head coach of that team, Hockey Hall of Famer, and the preparation for CJ, the times. And it was like, listen, we want to find more games for CJ, and it's just that balancing act, working with Elaine Chuli, who also maybe an underrated goaltender, has been phenomenal at the pro level. And I think is just waiting to see if Chuli can really get some reps also in the PWHL. So I love that you mentioned that, Ava. Like, definitely got to look up CJ's breadth of work because it's legit and, has continued to give that back in coaching opportunities and different things like that. So I know that this is, about results on the ice. And as someone who covers the Seattle hockey team, that was an expansion team, I get the sense that in the city of Seattle, I also cover the Seattle Storm, that the engagement with the community, especially from the women's teams. I know the Seattle Reign, yes, they are the Seattle Reign proper again, which I love. That means something in Seattle. It means something to the fans as it does everywhere, but it's almost like an expectation, I think, in how the franchises are built. And so I hope that translates also to the PWHL with this team. And they've got some players, I think, that are really going to be able to fit the bill there. But I love it. This is a great conversation. No, you are doing all of the things absolutely right, Ava. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so grateful to have you, your energy, your vibe. And before we close out the show, we usually would do this at the end of the show, but I want to make sure that you hype yourself up as well. Tell us how folks can engage with you and what you have cooking for the PWHL season.
Oh yeah. So, well, honestly, I'm just a hockey fan. I don't even know how I got into making content. I think it was more so just, it's what I keep saying. I feel like the PWHL is so underrated still. I know that there's a lot of fans now, but I felt like when I started watching it, I was like, whoa, this is so good. But so many other people don't even know that this is good. I don't even think I knew women played hockey, which is, it sounds so stupid now, but I don't know. I just kind of want to give back and show my love for the league and hype them up. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I have tried making actual long form YouTube videos, so you can go check those out. But yeah.
Yeah, one of them was recommended by a mutual of ours, Brian, also known as Striatic, over on the Locked on Kraken
Shout
streets.
out,
So
Brian.
yeah, shout out to Brian. Okay, but again, we are so excited to have you here. We love your energy and your analysis, and thank you for joining Rachel and I, because we got to talk about some upcoming rooks. The rookie class, the first ever rookie class, Rachel, for this, I almost said Seattle Kraken, for this PWHL Seattle yet to be named team. And let's talk about, what picks they had. They, as the expansion draft, they actually got, of the 2 expansion drafts, the second or AKA last pick in the first round, but then they alternated Vancouver and Seattle, Rachel. But they were able to, so they had all of their true picks, no trades, no nothing like that.
Right. And, we talked about Hannah Murphy already as their second round pick here, which was an incredible pickup. Their first round 8th pick overall, Jenna Buglioni from Ohio State, again, played at more than a point per game as a 2C. Which is, I think, a tremendous stat there, because usually I would say, like, your stats are only going to be that high when you're on the first line. And so for her to do that as a second liner, I think is pretty impressive. And she's one of, like, the 2 players, her and Murphy, that have already actually signed on the dotted line with Seattle. Like, these teams got to get their draft picks signed, by the way. But I think she's going to be a really great compliment. And I think that because of the powerhouse expansion work that was done, she's going to have a chance to really adjust to this game in a more protected role, maybe on the third line. And so I think it'll be a really good rookie year for her.
Yeah, for sure. And Jenna, Ava, was one of the players that was at the season ticket holder event. I mean, what vibes were you picking up from Jenna?
Oh, she's just super fun. I think she's definitely one of the players where I'm like, I want to be friends with you. Like, you just seem so cool. So I think it's great that she was, like, included in that press tour. So, like, Seattle folks can already start to get to know her.
Yeah, 100%. Good choice to have your first round draft pick there, and to get to know, for the fans and for her to get to know the city. All right, they had a few other picks. Again, they're true picks in all 6 rounds, Rachel, and they go with 3 forwards overall and 3 forwards and 1 defender from the picks that we haven't talked about yet. And so where do you see, does that kind of match up, I should say, Rachel, with what we've seen them pick up in the expansion draft and free agency? Do you wish they would have picked up more blue liners? What are your thoughts there?
No, I think they did the right thing, because I really think that they're going to need these forwards to make the adjustment and have them as depth players. And I honestly think there's a chance that 1 or 2 of them will end up as practice squad players to start off with, just because, the expansion process gave them such a strong top 6 as well as the blue line, that I think this is more of a traditional draft where you have the first 2-3 rounds with solid picks that are going to make the team. And then beyond that, they got to work their way up. And it's like, it almost legitimizes the league in a way, like having this sort of a draft class for Seattle.
Yeah, that's interesting, because we have to remember, I mean, it's still a small league with these 2 teams. Now we're up to 8, but the fact that in a season and in an expansion draft where they weren't the only expansion team, I think, Rachel, they really did a pretty solid job of locking up their top 6. And that's what we're going to talk about next, because Rachel, we've kind of done this, and by we, I mean me, your unofficial, like, you take this segment, but let's talk about how we see these teams lining up with the top 2 forward groups, and then your D pairs as well.
Yeah, I just want to rewind my brain to the expansion process. And I remember typing the 3 words next to each other, Bilka, Carpenter, Knight, and just about having a meltdown, because, like, that's your top line there, right? And, we talked about Vancouver last week, and I had kind of set my brain up as like, oh, Vancouver killed it, man, they're gonna like win the cup. And then I talked myself out of it based on that line alone for Seattle. Because
that's
wow.
valid. That's valid.
Wow. And then your second line of Gosling, Serdachny, and Jesse Eldridge. I mean, so that is the line to me. That second line is who you put up against the top lines of the other teams.
Ava, you have thoughts?
Yeah. So just based on paper, our top six is incredible. I think where I have honestly the most question marks is with like our bottom six, because like just from being a Montreal fan, I'm like, our top line isn't going to get us everywhere. So I'm just like, okay, like we need the depth. But like just based on like our top players alone, I'm like, we're winning the cup. I'm going on record saying that.
I love it. Yeah. I'm going to have to bring this back to Locked on Kraken, because I made a bold prediction that the Seattle Kraken would win a cup before Vegas. That did not come to pass. So
nope.
Ava, I'm hoping your juju is much stronger for your sake than mine was in my bold prediction.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet that day, whether it's player props, building a same game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. I, of course, will be betting on any and all Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Think let's talk then, Rachel, about that, that next six group. We talked about them individually, but do you think there's enough, or can they build enough chemistry here to at least maintain what we think that top six can do?
Yeah, and that's where I think Buglioni as a 3C is going to be able to shine, because she'll have quality minutes, but they'll be a little bit sheltered. And with Michaela Grant-Mentis on her wing, with that veteran experience and that drive that she has, like, I just think like that is going to be a great third line for them. I think the fourth line, I think Snodgrass will end up on that fourth line, but with the opportunity to move up to the third line if she earns it. But I do think, to Ava's point, the fourth line is going to be a little shaky there, because we're going to end up with some maybe rookies there, and it depends on the matchups. But I do think that third line could surprise people.
Yeah, for sure. Let's wrap before we move on to news in other areas of the PWHL and hockey. Let's move to goaltending. We talked about goaltenders, I think, a lot already on the show. So Ava, I'll come to you first, and then Rachel. What do you see as maybe the ideal split in net? Is it Schroeds until the wheels fall off? Are we going like a 65-35? Rachel, we talked about that on the last episode. Ava, you first, and then Rachel, what do you hope to see? And maybe if it's different, what do you think we'll see in Seattle?
Yeah, so I think what we've seen so far in this league is that having multiple really good goaltenders and not having to rely on just one goaltender is what's going to win you a championship. Like when I look at Minnesota, I'm like, it's Rooney and Hensley. When I look at the Charge, it's like, okay, they had Mashmeyer and they had Phillips, right? So I think I don't watch a ton of college hockey. I want to start watching more. But I think the fact that we took Hannah Murphy so high in the draft indicates to me that they really want her to be playing a larger role. And then again, signing CJ in free agency, somebody who already has that pro hockey experience, like that's somebody that can also have a big role. So I'd like to see us distributing the time in net a little bit more, especially like with the travel. But I think it'll be interesting to just see how like CJ and Hannah Murphy are like pushing each other in this goalie trio.
Yeah, I am also kind of hesitant to say how I want the rotation to look here, because we don't have the schedule yet. And with 8 teams in the league, the schedule is going to look different. And, with these venues, especially I would say in Vancouver being so women's hockey focused, and we don't know what the arena schedule is going to look like in Seattle and what the opportunities are going to be here for where these slots are going to come. There may be more back-to-backs here than we've seen in the past in this league. And so there's going to be more opportunities for Murphy and CJ, I think, than there were this past year. But I want to see the schedule before I say definitively what I would want it to look like.
That's fair. And Ava, you alluded to this, but just to bring this point back, or the point that I think you were making, is that not just Seattle, but Vancouver, they're coming from the West Coast proper. And that's not something that we've seen in this league before. So if they are going to the East Coast and then they come back for a home game, and that's maybe one, if they're lucky, hopefully closer to 2-3 days in between, that's going to be different for teams that maybe only have to travel through one time zone, which would be the case for every other team traveling to every other city. So the OG6, if you will, comparative to what Seattle and Vancouver are going to have to do. And we know that that is a conversation that people have in the NHL for Pacific Division teams, specifically those on the West Coast proper. And then that will, of course, be the case for the teams coming to the West Coast from the East Coast. But again, more regularly, they'll be playing within an hour or so of what their regularly scheduled hockey program is. So just something to consider. And yeah, we don't have the schedule yet, so we can't do any of the planning. But speaking of the schedule, now is the time that we go into some PWHL news. I feel like, I don't know if I can call this news yet, but it's a PWHL observation. I did see on the social media channel LinkedIn, yes, because I do use the LinkedIn. But this is why. I have found nuggets of information on LinkedIn and Venmo. That's how I found out.
LinkedIn is wild.
Venmo is crazy.
Steel Rosie, I reported that the Metropolitan Riveters were changing their logo because I saw a payment go through on Venmo.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not even, and I reached out and I was like, listen, your Venmo is public. I saw this, and they were like, oh yeah, just go with it. And I was like, oh, got it first. Let's go, baby.
Wow.
Venmo. But this time I'm talking about LinkedIn. One of my connects on LinkedIn shared a photo of some executives, including Jenna Hefford, were in Chicago at Wrigley Field. And Rachel, we've talked about this before. There was some reporting, that there are some season ticket holder home games missing. So do we think, is this takeover tour? Is it expansion kind of things? Do we think, I know Ava, you put out their outdoor game. I mean, Rachel, I'm going to come to you first. Should we read into these tea leaves of PWHL execs going to a Cubbies game?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say an outdoor game at Wrigley Field because that sounds delightful. It more reads takeover tour to me, and that's the sport that's active right now, so they're going around town and doing their thing. I mean, I guess there's NWSL as well, but I think that it just seems like kind of a basic sports doing the sports thing to me.
Doing the sports, yeah, I think that's fair. Ava, your thoughts? What would you like to see Chicago maybe be a part of?
Yeah, I'm going to keep the optimism alive here. Actually, Wrigley Field hosted the Chicago Red Stars of the NWSL at Wrigley Field. Huge success. So I wouldn't rule out PWHL game at Wrigley Field, but even just a takeover game in Chicago would be awesome. Actually, my twin sister lives in Chicago.
Oh.
Wrigley Field. So.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Say if this happens.
There you go. All right. So we'll see how it goes down. So it was Jenna Hefford. It was Alexis Miller, former player who now is working for the PWHL. She is the senior director of player experience at the Professional Women's Hockey League. Other people that were in attendance include, hold on, scrolling. I'll edit this out. Include from the PWHL, a VP of hockey operations, as well as from the PWHL, they also had someone who serves as the vice president overall. So those are pretty high level officials. So I don't have any more information. I will continue to stay active on LinkedIn and Venmo. You never know, to see if I can get any other nuggets there. In other news, so that was PWHL news. In other news, so two things that we have to talk about. One is a new addition. One is a player officially retiring. But Ottawa Charge, Rachel, get a new coach with some international experience.
Yeah, it's the Ottawa Charge, as we know, are in a little bit of a challenging situation this year based on who they lost in their expansion process, and to bring in another strong coach with that international experience who knows these players is really important. So Juuso Toivola, I think is how you pronounce it, joining the Ottawa Charge staff. And I think that it's a really good compliment that he's a really knowledgeable player there, especially in the women's game. And I think could also help bring over more European players in the long run.
Yeah, I think so. And also, Mike Hirschfeld, the general manager of the Charge, also noted that, Juuso has already worked with like Savalainen and Ahola at the international stage. So you're from the back going forward, right? So maybe this is also a pick there that can help them really get a little bit more sharp when it comes to what they're doing defensively. That has been a little bit of a challenge, I think, for the Charge at times. Right. But as we start wrapping up here, we also have Amanda Pelkey announcing her retirement, played for Boston in the PWHL, and a USA hockey player. But we'll close out with the first ever Women's World Ice Hockey Championships. And Rachel, the USA takes it. Sorry to Marie-Philippe Poulin, but at least...
Sorry to Canada.
Sorry
USA
to you,
hockey
Canada.
is do or die.
And they kind of dominated, which was kind of wild.
Yeah, I think this tournament has been so important, and we've been talking for years about the fact that para ice hockey has been male dominated, and it's supposedly co-ed, but it really isn't. And this has been a long overdue marquee tournament, and I'm just glad that the United States came out on top here.
100%. And Ava, I enjoyed your content hyping up this World Championship so much, including incorporating the PWHL Tim Hortons / Barbie collab. That one was hilarious.
Of course. And I just want to give a shout out though to Team Canada too, because yes, the USA did dominate, but Team Canada was the only team to even score against USA, and Team Canada was also like pretty dominant, I'd say, in their other matches. So I think they really just like elevated each other, and it was such a great game to watch.
And so the story goes when it comes to USA and Canada, especially in ice hockey or para ice hockey on the women's side. Those are the two teams. Iron sharpens iron. We get, yes, some petty on the ice, but then we also get some power couples that continue on in our hearts. And hopefully they'll all be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Julie Chu's up next, folks. Make it happen. Let's freaking go. Like, why is I know, Rachel, we don't have time for it today, but we will talk about it. We will definitely talk about it on an upcoming episode of the Women's Hockey Report. Ava Wood, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you are following 365 Hockey Girl, as she mentioned, YouTube, TikTok, IG, all of the things. We are definitely going to have you back. But for Rachel Donner, who you can catch on the Locked On NHL show and the Locked On Flyer show. My name is Erica L. Ayala. I am also your host of Locked On Kraken. And thank you also to our producer, Joe, in the background, who will be joining us and did join us over on the Locked On Kraken show. But thank you so much. Have a great Saturday, and we will catch you next week. Peace out, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We really enjoyed speaking to Ava and talking about how she got started with her hockey overall journey by going to women's hockey games. But also, I thought it was really critical that she talked about that if Climate Pledge Arena hadn't been promoting the rivalry series, which was USA Hockey versus Hockey Canada on the women's side, that she might not have even known where to look for women's hockey or become a hockey fan at all. So we hope we're doing our part here to continue to grow women's hockey. If you're not already, please do subscribe. Now, you'll have to subscribe to the Locked On NHL channel, but you can find our curated playlist, and we'll leave that in the show notes for you. And if you want content that is on the show and some stuff that's curated for women's hockey fans, then check out the TikTok channel that we have, women's_hockey_report. Thanks as always. We appreciate the comments, and hopefully we'll have the schedule soon so we can start doing our analysis of what we expect and circle some games that we highly are anticipating, but we have some fun things for you planned down the pike. Thanks again. Please do subscribe, leave comments, and follow us on TikTok, women's_hockey_report. Right now, that's our only social media channel that is dedicated solely to this show. So we're hoping to grow the numbers so we can continue to expand the show. Until next week, on behalf of Rachel Donner and for this episode, Ava Wood, Erica L. Ayala, thanking you and saying have a great weekend.